Objective. After listening to this lecture, you'll be able to describe the stages of change model, the concept of shaping, and the abstinence violation syndrome. Although you might learn some new information in this class really is all about making behavioral changes.
Behavior modification. True or false? This class is going to be a complete waste of time. Did I catch your attention? The answer to this question is completely up to you, not me. Remember in the orientation video I said what you get out of this class is in direct proportion to what you put into it. Unless you actually do something about your health and incorporate healthy behaviors, the answer to this question is unfortunately true. This class will be a complete waste of your time in my opinion. Knowing versus doing. I certainly hope you will enjoy this class and that you'll get something out of it, but way more important than enjoying the class and or feeling that you've gotten something out of it is actually doing something to improve your health. Implementing at least one tiny behavior change on a permanent basis is what I'm hoping for. In other words, you need to apply or put into action the information about what you'll be learning. You can recite 100 reasons why you should eat healthy or exercise or effectively manage stress, but the most important thing is that you actually implement healthy behaviors. You can cite 100 reasons why you should exercise, but the most important thing is that you actually exercise. You can cite 100 reasons why you should eat healthy foods, but the most important thing is that you actually eat healthy foods. Knowledge alone does not make you healthier. It's the healthy behaviors that make you healthy. The overall purpose of this class is really to help you be healthier physically and emotionally by adopting some new healthy behaviors. Stages of change. Regardless of whatever health behavior you'd like to target, quitting smoking, eating healthier, exercising more, effectively managing your stress, etc., it's important to assess your readiness for change. The stages of change model, also called the trans-theoretical model of change, is often used by health educators to develop health promotion programs that are appropriate based on the stage at which their target population is at. Pre-contemplation. The first stage is pre-contemplation. This is when a person has no intention of making any changes because they're either not aware that they need to change, or they might be aware but they don't think it's that big of a deal, so they still have no intention of changing. It's important to get out of this pre-contemplation stage as soon as possible because no change can occur as long as you're at this stage. Contemplation. The second stage is contemplation. This is when a person starts to think more seriously about making a change. The person knows they need to make a change and their intention is to change, but not right now. So the attitude moves from what's the big deal to, yeah, I really need to exercise more or eat less fast food or whatever, you fill in the blank. You start to seriously consider making a change. You know you need to change and you want to change. Preparation. The third stage is preparation. This is when a person has mentally made a commitment to change, and they start to do whatever they need to do to prepare to make the change. An example of this stage is someone making a menu and a grocery list for eating healthier, or joining a fitness club, or buying a heart rate monitor, etc. Action. The fourth stage is action. This is when the person actually engages in the behavior. Maintenance or relapse prevention. This is when the person has been successful at making their change for a while now. Just a word of caution, it's possible to go back and forth through these stages. So once someone is in the maintenance stage, it is possible to slip back, but it's possible to get back to the maintenance stage again. How many of you have attempted to change a behavior like going on a diet or eating really healthy for a while, and then you slip and go back to your old ways of eating? The same goes for emotional health issues. How many of you are able to take a deep breath and control your temper at times, but you don't do so well at other times? My hope is that you will find at least one health behavior that you're ready to improve. My hope is that you will find at least a couple of health behaviors that you're ready to improve. Habits. A quick note about habits. Habits really are very powerful and can either help you big time or hinder you big time. Most habits are subconscious. We don't really realize that we're doing something. Everyone clasp your hands together right now. Notice which thumb is on top, the thumb on your right hand or your left hand. Now unclasp your hands and clasp your hands again, but with the thumb of your other hand on top. It might be a bit trickier. take you a second or two longer, and you might need to consciously think about it because you've gotten used to clasping your hands a certain way. Now sign your name. If you would, grab a piece of scratch paper and sign your name right now if you can. Now put the pen or pencil in your other hand and sign your name. It might be a bit more difficult, take you a little longer to sign your name the second time, and you have to think more about how to sign your name compared to the first time. Putting your pants on as you're getting dressed. Which pant leg do you put on first, the right one or the left one? You probably have to think about that for a minute because you don't consciously think about putting your right leg in first and then your left, or vice versa. You just do it. If you had to put your other leg in first, again, it might take a bit more effort. When you brush your teeth, where in your mouth do you usually begin? If you had to start at the opposite side, again, it might require a little more time and effort, and making a conscious effort to start with the other side. It might require a little more time and effort to making a conscious effort to start with the other side. If you were to practice doing each of these new behaviors, clasping your hands, signing your name, putting your pants on, brushing your teeth, etc., in a different way, sooner or later, you would not have to think about doing them in the new way. After practicing over and over again, completing these tasks in a new and different way would become habitual. So too it is with our health behaviors. Completing new health behaviors over and over again will help you develop new habits. That's the key. Making new behaviors a habit, where you don't even have to think about engaging in a healthy behavior. It's so easy and habitual, like signing your name with your dominant hand. You just do it. So how long does it typically take for a new habit to develop? Studies have shown that it takes roughly 21 days, or about 3 weeks, of doing something every day or nearly every day to form a habit. Obviously, the longer you've been doing something, the stronger the habit will be. But again, beware, habits or being in the maintenance stage can be broken, and then you have to develop the habit all over again. Shaping versus radical change. Which way is more likely to ensure permanent behavior change? Taking baby steps or making small changes little by little? This is called shaping. Or making radical changes all at once? It's kind of a trick question because it depends on the person and on the targeted behavior. For example, if someone absolutely hates exercise and has never really exercised a day in their life, trying to exercise a couple hours a day, 6 days a week, is not going to result in lasting behavior change and will probably put the person in the hospital. But if someone has an addiction to sugar and they always have to have a sweet treat every day, it's generally recommended to cut out the dessert altogether, because as long as the person continues to have any sweets, that sweet tooth is still being fed. Cold turkey is the way to go in that case. For most health behaviors, I generally recommend shaping little by little. Work on the things you need to work on. Don't try to master everything at once, and don't take on another goal until you've mastered the previous goal. For example, if you don't sleep well and you're always cranky and tired the next day, which affects your relationships with others and your productivity and performance, then try doing one relaxation technique each night before going to bed, which has been shown to improve quality of sleep. That's it. Don't do anything else for a while until you get into the habit of doing this. Then, while continuing with your new habit of doing a relaxation technique just before going to sleep, move on to another goal. This is called shaping. Abstinence violation syndrome. Another concept about behavior modification that's important to address is abstinence violation syndrome. This refers to an all or nothing type of thinking. If you're trying to eat healthy and you eat one cookie, you might as well eat the whole plate of cookies. You'll try again tomorrow or next week. You didn't exercise today, so you don't exercise the entire week. You'll start next week. This all or nothing type of thinking is very dangerous and sabotages efforts to be healthy. Think of poison like cyanide. If you accidentally ingested some cyanide, would you think, oh, I better drink the entire container? Slipping up and eating a super unhealthy meal is all the more reason to eat healthy with your next meal. Remember, the goal is to adopt new lifestyle changes or habits. It doesn't mean you have to be perfect all the time. In fact, I've seen problems with those who exhibit obsessive compulsive tendencies with being absolutely perfect. Years ago, a friend of mine who was obsessive about her diet and exercise just about made us miss our plane back to the United States. We were in New Zealand. because she had to get her run in before we left for the airport. She was willing to risk missing her plane so that she could get her daily exercise session in. Also, when we were in a small village on the same trip, we went to a sandwich shop and they ran out of sandwich shop and they ran out of wheat bread. Although she was starving, she refused to eat because she didn't want to eat the white bread. So the abstinence violation syndrome goes both ways. She went overboard with her healthy behaviors when she was faced with not being able to engage in them, and someone can go overboard with their unhealthy behaviors when they slip. A quote-unquote lifestyle does not mean never ever. It simply implies most of the time. So most of the time you exercise, but you don't freak out if you need to skip a couple of days. And most of the time you eat healthy foods, but you don't freak out if you eat an unhealthy food every once in a while. The 80-20 rule means that about 80% of the time you engage in healthy behaviors and 20% of the time you don't, and that's okay. However, the problem with this 80-20 rule is, one, it's kind of hard to identify. However, the problems with this 80-20 rule is, number one, it's kind of hard to quantify 80% and 20%. What exactly does that mean? 80% of 7 days a week is 5.6 days. So do you need to exercise and eat healthy 5.6 days a week? Or does it mean you need to eat healthy for 12.8 hours of your 16-hour waking day? That's 80%. And then you can eat unhealthy for the remaining 3 hours. And number two, the 80-20 rule doesn't really work for addiction. Eating high sugar foods, as I mentioned before, is a problem, even 20% of the time, or however you quantify what 20% is. Eating high sugar foods, even 20% of the time, however you quantify what 20% is, will feed your addiction to sugar and keep you addicted to sugar and wanting high sugar foods. Key points. This class is about making behavioral changes. There's an obviously huge difference in knowing versus doing when it comes to health. The stages of change model includes 5 stages: pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, and maintenance. Shaping involves taking baby steps and not moving on until you've mastered the previous step. The abstinence violation syndrome, or all or nothing type of thinking, is dangerous and sabotages efforts to make permanent behavior change. And that's it.